Hello and welcome. Happy Thursday. I'm excited to be here with you today. It's sunny here, and we've had a couple of days of rain, so it's really nice to have, great weather. I'm excited today to essentially speak primarily to our college seniors and master students in their final year of study. We're going to be talking about the Deferred MBA and is it worth it? And I have something that I typically don't do in these sessions is I don't bring a lot of cases to the discussion, but today I will be bringing a few cases in. And I hopefully you brought your pen and paper and can take a few notes in terms of thinking about your presentation of your story. Before we dive into the presentation, just wanted to talk a little bit logistics. So the intention of these sessions is to really have an engaging discussion. I do like to anchor our sessions on a singular topic. However, if you have additional questions, whether that's related to the topic or something else, I'm happy to answer those in the comments. I'm looking at my other screen because I do have I'm monitoring essentially the chat. So this way you can engage, we can really engage live. So whichever platform you're joining us from, whether that's LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, just write your questions down. We won't put your name on the screen, so don't worry about that. But I will read the question out loud and answer it here. If you are watching this as a replay, of course, write your question in the comment, and we'll do the same, just in a comment form. If you are here and you are not necessarily a deferred candidate, but are looking for kind of insights about the MBA application, and perhaps you have already secured a seat because round one decisions most of them have come out. We have a few more that are coming out, in the next couple of days. I will be discussing scholarship negotiation in the GMAT Club platform on Saturday. So if you want to join that, there's a link on the screen in terms of how to register and join. And also next week, I will be calling all round one applicants, whether you've been admitted, rejected, or waitlisted. What are the next steps? We're going to talk about those. So register for that event if that's something that you're interested in. All right, so I have a lot to cover, not enough time, and I always love talking about this, so I always go over the amount of time that I think I will need. So let's dive right in. So for those of you who are new, who am I? I am the founder of C Admissions. And at C Admissions, what we do is we coach MBA aspirants through the MBA application journey. Our goal is to help really understand what experiences you bring to the table, what experiences have shaped who you are, where you're looking to go in terms of your career trajectory, and help you communicate that in a way that business schools are excited about. Our goal is to really help you put together the best application that you can. Obviously, it's a partnership, which means that the effort that you put in, it's obviously the element in terms of how the outcome is going to be. We do have a pretty rigorous process in terms of how we approach coaching candidates, and that's with the intention of making sure that you have the opportunity to do all that you can to secure a seat at a coveted top 20 business school, whether that's through the deferred program or the traditional MBA journey. We offer comprehensive sort of coaching that is almost like hand-holding through the entire process. And we do also offer more scaled back services, which is more strategy more strategic macro level guidance in your application. So if you're interested to talk about how we can support you, there will be a link on the screen and the chat in terms of how you can connect with us and discuss our approach and our services. I founded SIA actually with the intention that there were. I worked with someone who had hired a coach previously, and they didn't get the one-on-one time that they needed to cultivate and to really pull out the story from the applicant that was going through the journey. And I decided that we're going to find SIA, and SIA is going to remain very much this approach of really getting to know the person that we're working with, which is, of course, through the comprehensive process, is one of the ways that we do that. Okay, so today what I want to cover is going through understanding the advantages of a deferred MBA. We're going to explore some of the benefits. I mentioned a few cases. We're going to evaluate the long-term ROI and some tools to make an informed decision. Obviously, Q&A is on the list as the last, but if you have questions along the way, like I mentioned earlier, please write them in whichever platform you're joining us from. So let's dive right in. What are the advantages of a deferred MBA? So just a step back, I talked about this last week, but as a reminder, deferred MBAs are for college seniors in their final year of study, or master students in their second year, if it's a 2-year program, so in your final year of study as well. Essentially, the prerequisite is that you don't have any full-time work experience, and that you plan to have an MBA 2 to 5 years to sit, or at least start your MBA 2 to 5 years from the time that you apply. So if you're applying this year, you're planning to start your MBA 2 to 5 years in the future. Once you hit that 2-year mark, every single year, business schools are going to ask you, "Are you ready? Are you ready to start?" And you have a 5-year window to do that. So what the advantages are is, of course, business school, just as general, business school does offer you quite a variety of peers with a variety of different backgrounds, right? So if you are someone who may be considering business school, but you don't come from a business school background, that is totally okay. Business schools actually do have quite a variety of students that are part of the program. That can be, engineers, it could be artists, it could be individuals that, are more in marketing, or really any area that you are interested in. There is an opportunity for you to go to business, so long as you're looking to work in the business. Obviously, if you are, looking to be an astronaut, well, business school may not be the right place for you, but most everything else, you have an opportunity to think about how that area you're interested in can benefit from having a business degree, and understanding how you can have an impact in the sector that you're interested in. The deferred MBA is for those who have long-term leadership aspirations. So you really want to understand, first and foremost, that you want to be a leader, right? It attracts highly ambitious candidates who are looking to make an impact in the world, and securing the seat early allows you, obviously, that secure pathway to make sure that you can still go and get the experiences that you want. They may not necessarily be business, but that you have that secure path that allows you that flexibility. And being that strategic is really important. So having the opportunity to gain that pre-MBA experience, and I'll talk about in the cases in the next slide, I will talk about essentially what does that actually mean in that pre-MBA experience. Oftentimes applicants think that, oh, it's good enough that you are going into consulting, or it's good enough that you're going into finance after an MBA, and it's not exactly that for deferred MBA candidates. Business schools are looking to attract individuals who are willing to take professional risks, and going into consulting is not really a professional risk, right? So if that's how you're presenting yourself, the admission team may think that, okay, well, you're a good candidate, but you can apply again in 3 to 5 years before when you're ready to start your MBA, right? So it's a really nuanced application, and I'll show you in the next slide what does that mean. So here I'm going to I brought 3 cases, and as I was about to join, I realized that I should have included one more, but we'll stick to the 3 cases that I have here. So the first case is an international applicant with an international business degree. And they were an entrepreneur, so they had already started a business that was quite successful. And post their undergraduate degree, so once they were, on the year that they were applying, they were looking to join an industry, an entertainment industry in copywriting. So why does this matter? Well, this individual was actually looking to eventually build a tech platform to protect artists' digital creations. So their entire business was around copywriting. So they wanted to go into the entertainment industry so that they can get the industry know-how. But it's not necessarily the most sexy job, right? Post undergraduate, that they really wanted to secure that MBA and leverage the network to be able to make the career moves. This individual ended up going to Columbia Business School and has been absolutely killing it in terms of leveraging the network, even pre-MBA, to make career moves, present his case, talk about his, the things that he's interested in, and eventually is looking to continue in the path of developing the platform he was intending to do. So this individual is a entrepreneur through and through, and really wanted to get that business know-how from a globally recognized institution to enable them to not only obviously understand business in a greater sense, but also have the network that this individual needed in order to make the career moves, right? So in that situation, essentially, this individual wasn't taking the traditional path, right? So when I talk about an MBA, a deferred MBA candidate can't go in the traditional path, this is a really good case to highlight that element. They were not going into consulting. They were not going into the traditional pathway that you would anticipate, and therefore it made for a really good deferred MBA candidate. Now, the next case is slightly more traditional in a way, but the end goal, it's non-traditional. Not non-traditional, but it required a few steps to get to where they wanted to go. So this candidate was coming in with an economics background and finance exposure, so internship experiences that they've had were finance as well as private equity. They were looking to essentially move into the renewable space, but what they wanted to do is leave the private equity venture that experience that they were going to have post undergraduate to gain real world experience, sort of field work, before going back and starting their own venture in terms of being a much more informed investor. But leaving PE was obviously a very huge risk, right? So this made for a really good candidate who ended up going to Wharton and was able to communicate effectively how this deferred program would enable them to make the moves that they needed to make in their career. And again, obviously this person was going into finance. Wharton is a great space to be in, to make those career moves, but and they were able to leverage the network that Wharton provides pre-MBA before they were able to, leave their PE experience and have the field work experience, working in renewables before starting their MBA, and then moving into going back to the investment space afterwards, right? And the next candidate or next case is an econ and French undergraduate student looking to move into the real estate space. Now, their internship was with Goldman Sachs, but what made this candidate a really good deferred MBA candidate was essentially their mission, right? They were looking to create a venture, so become an entrepreneur eventually, that would create affordable housing that was also safe living environment for the underprivileged. This individual really tapped into their own personal experiences to talk about, to inform their mission in terms of what they wanted to do. And they obviously, going into real estate, finance and capital is obviously very, very integral element. And they did want to get exposure. One of their worries was essentially working in a conglomerate like Goldman Sachs did not allow them to see firsthand what would that experience look like to work in affordable housing. So they wanted to look at essentially what new developments in affordable housing were happening on the ground, so through working at startups before making the the pivot to eventually get into their creating their venture long term, right? So again, this is a person who is not looking to stay the traditional pathway. This is someone who is looking to have the right experiences, the right exposures that will enable them to make an impact in the world. And if you look through all of these cases, that is the pattern that showcases what deferred MBAs are all about. It's about taking that professional risk, even if you are, of course, initially post your undergraduate, maybe going in the traditional pathway, you are still looking to eventually make the career moves that are considered risky if you are looking to eventually get an MBA. So this allows you to have that security blanket, if you will, before making the moves. All right, so the long-term return on investment in the deferred MBA is, of course, career flexibility. So early acceptance also allows you to focus on your strategic career moves before starting your MBA. When you have that seat secured, unless you do something that is going to question your character and ethics, your seat is secured, right? Therefore, you can make career moves, work for a company whose mission you are excited about, that may not necessarily be a first choice if you did not have a deferred MBA already secured. So that's quite huge in terms of, especially at this stage in your career, you are early on. You are not going to want to make, ineffective career steps that are going to jeopardize your future, right? So by doing this now, you'll be able to make, the idea is that you'll be able to make those moves with a little bit more ease. Confidence and planning, knowing that your spot is secured, is absolutely an important element in helping you make sure that you have the diverse experiences that you need so that you can move faster. It may feel initially that you're moving slower, but actually you may move faster once you have the right experiences and exposures early on. And of course, you can tap into the network of the school that you have been admitted into early on. Leverage the alumni, speak to them about your career moves, look for opportunities, leverage the resources that the school has for deferred programs. All of this while you're still building career experiences or experiences in your career and before starting your MBA, right? So there is an element of confidence that comes with getting the deferred MBA secured that will really impact how you show up in front of future employers and where you're looking to take your career. So some of the things that you should be looking at right now, I know that for most of the deferred MBA applications are not due until beginning of April. However, at this point, you are going to want to have a few questions that you want to ask yourself before you start the process. If you are someone who is looking to do this, to go through a deferred MBA program in the long term, obviously you got a few cases that you understand what those opportunities what the schools are looking for, and you want to ask also these questions to yourself, so self-reflection in terms of, is your profile ready at this moment? And if it's not, then you do need to think about what are some of the steps that you can make sure that you're taking now to get yourself to become a competitive deferred MBA candidate, because there are fewer seats in the deferred pool, and it's also much more competitive than the traditional 2-year MBA program, which is already quite competitive. So the self-assessment. So some of the things that you want to be asking yourself is, what do you want to do post-MBA? Post-graduation, excuse me. What are the steps that you want to be taking? I would even go a step further in terms of, what are you looking to do long-term, right? So that macro level, what's the impact that you're looking to make in the world, right? And what career experiences would you want to have if there were no sort of repercussions, right, in your journey? What exposures would you like to have? And then obviously, what is the plan for you? And is this something that requires an MBA or not? If it doesn't require an MBA for you to go into the area that you want to go into, and to be honest, not many things require an MBA. However, an MBA is intended to help you shorten the time between when you start and where you're planning to go, right? So if it's intended to take you 20 years, by the time, if you don't get an MBA, well, the idea is that an MBA is going to help, shorten that time frame. So do you need an MBA to be able to make those moves? Because sometimes an MBA, it's not really worth the investment. So that this is a time where you want to articulate that. And then, do you have a candidate profile that has a really strong academic background, really strong community involvement and internships, and you have if you're applying this coming year, that you have a job secured for your post-undergraduate or post-master's experience. So for that 2 to 5 year period, you need to have a job, essentially. And if those are, really good, then yes, you are definitely a strong candidate for the deferred program. But if you need a little bit more development, then especially if you're not applying this year, this is a good time to actually plan out what do you want to be doing, and then what are the steps that you need to take in order to develop your profile further, right? And one of the ways that we do this here at CA Admissions is we start sometimes with applicants who want to develop their profile early on by going through the process of defining goals, where they're looking to go, and then reverse engineering that to build a plan of action so that you can take micro steps along the way before the application, before you are ready to even start writing your applications and submitting, of course, for a deferred program. In our process, in terms of if you're applying this year, We go through your experience or help understand your experiences, build a strategy, work through the essays with you, your resume, letters of recommendation, interview preparation. It's really the full gamut. We see ourselves as a partner with the clients we work with, and we want to make sure that you are proud of the application that you're submitting by the time you go through this entire process. And if you're looking to connect on that front, feel free to reach out, schedule a consultation, and we can discuss how we can support you on this journey. All right, I'm going to stop sharing screens so that I can answer questions. If you have a question, please write it in the chat in which you are joining. And let me just move my screen over so that I can see your questions. All right, we'll go with the questions that have come through the registration form. We have a few minutes left, so we will get started with those. Okay, someone with an engineering background, how can I determine if a deferred MBA program is right for me? Typically, the easiest way to determine if an MBA is right for you is to really look at what you want to do. Do you see yourself as a leader? Sometimes I have applicants that I work with who are engineers, and they're looking to really be the conduit between the engineering team and the C-suite, right? And a deferred MBA really helps you understand the language of the C-suite so that you can understand both points, right? Most of the time, progress stalls when communication falters. So you're going to, a deferred MBA can really help you in that regard, particularly in that way, but also if you want obviously to be a leader, if you want to start your own venture, like there's many different reasons why you may want a deferred MBA program. And I would encourage you to definitely reach out and we can dive into a little bit more around what is it that you're looking to do, and how is an MBA, is a deferred MBA the right, or really is an MBA the place for you to invest your time and energy in? Okay, what type of extracurricular leadership experience strengthen a deferred MBA application? There's no particular type of experience. I think the elements where you want to focus on is not about the quantity of engagements that you have. So sometimes there are applicants who I see that have quite a large list of things that they are a member of, and then if I probe with further questions, there's no substance in terms of impact that they were able to make. It's more the engagement is very minimal because obviously they're overstretched, right? So stretched too thin. So my recommendation for applicants that are developing their profile is to really look at quality over quantity of experiences. And the experiences that you are involved in, make sure that you have a leadership position, you are impacting in particular ways. And sometimes, especially if you're going to join some coveted clubs or activities that are happening on campus, there may be some rules around it, but my recommendation is always that you try to communicate with people, tell them what your aspirations are, tell them what you're looking to do, offer to help even if you don't have a title, and that will eventually lead you to where you want to go. But don't shy away because you don't have the title from the get-go. People do actually, especially if you don't have a lot of experiences, people want to see if they can trust you in delivering on what you promise that you're going to deliver, and therefore they're going to look for evidence before they can vouch for you. So take the time to build relationships, network, because that's what you're going to be doing in business school anyway. So this is a good starting point to make sure that you are continuing in that journey of getting comfortable while being uncomfortable, slightly uncomfortable for some, not everyone, of course, but yes. So in terms of leadership, community service, that's where you're going to develop most of your leadership, because in internships, it's not necessarily going to be that evident of your leadership. However, I have worked with clients who have had evidence of leadership in their internships because they, took initiative and they became the de facto leader of the interns. So there is opportunity for you to show those components, but it's not always available. But clubs and extracurriculars on campus is where it's expected of you to have leadership experience. Excellent. All right, I think we are over time. I invite you to join me on GMAT Club's admission weekend this Saturday coming. I'm going to be talking about scholarship negotiations. So if you are interested in learning about that, definitely join, register for that event. And next week on our Thursday program, we're going to focus on round 1 decisions. So whether you were admitted, waitlisted, or rejected, what you should be doing. And definitely join that event if you're a round 1 applicant, but even as a round 2 or future applicant, you want to know what are some of the things that you need to keep in mind as you go through this journey. And of course, share it with people in your network who are going through this journey as well, so they can join our session too. Thank you for being live with me. Thank you for watching this as a replay. I look forward to seeing your comments and again, being here next week talking about a different topic, but happy to answer any questions you may have related to the Deferred program.